Hi all, welcome to Selenium with Java June 21 morning batch online training session 4. So in the previous sessions, in session 3 I have started Java. I already discussed what is Java all about, what is data type, right, how many primitive and non-primitive data type available, what are the different kind of operation we can perform with the help of different operator, right, what is object and classes all about, right, what are the different kind of loops available in Java, like what is for loop, while loop, do while loop, and how you can control the loop with the help of break and continue statement, right. So in this session, in today's session, I will cover the following topics: what is if statement, what is if else statement, right, how we can do the nested if else loop, what is switch statement, what are the why we need to use methods in Java, what is constructor all about, what are the built-in wrapper class or date and calendar functions available in Java, what is exception handling, and how we can handle exception with the help of try catch block. So that will be the following topic will be covered today. So first we already seen the loop statement in the last session in the loop, right, like for loop, while loop, do while loop is coming, and we can control the loop with the help of continue and the break keyword. Okay, so in this session we will cover the conditional statement. So conditional statements are used to control the flow of the program, right. Definitely it will control the flow, as well as it will insert verification point and sometimes it's handle error. So these are the 5 types of control statements available in Java: if statement, if else statement, else if statement, or else if else, if ladder, nested if else, means if else within a if else statement. So that is nested if else, and the switch statement. These are the 5 conditional statements. So in case especially interviewer asks you some question like what is kind of loop and what is conditional statement, you can definitely let them know. Loop is like 3 loop: for, while, do while, right, where you know that you need to iterate number of repeated times, so you will be going with the loop, right. And in case if you kind of insert verification point and you need to control the flow of execution along with error handling, so you will be using conditional statement. So if else, if ladder, nested if, and switch statement. So if statement used to check only whenever the condition will be true, so we can maybe go with the if statement only. So if statement is used only to specify a block of Java code to be executed if the condition is met or true only, right. So if then condition, then you will be giving the statement in the second bracket. So that is the syntax, you need to remember it, right. So I will show you how like we can implement those things in the real time. So here I have created a class session 4 for today's session. So this is the main method I have selected. So if I implement if statement, right, suppose first I need to declare a variable, right. So before the if statement I can declare a variable. Suppose I am age, I am declaring age, and I am giving some value, suppose say 40, suppose say 70, I am giving the age. Okay, definitely you know this is the data type first, this is the variable name, and this is the value. That's why I can declare variables, right. Then the if condition, so I am using if. In the bracket I am giving condition age. If age greater than suppose 60, then what will be my conditions? Sorry, the condition should be in second bracket, right. Condition will be I want to print that persons will be senior citizen, right. The person will be senior citizen, right. So that is the print I want to loop. I mean I want to print in the if statement. This is if only. If the condition is true, then it will print something, right. So here it condition is true, right. I have given age is 70, but I want to check whether age is 60 or not. So in case age is 60, greater than 60, right. So definitely the person will be senior citizens. You already know if it is greater than 60, the person will be called as senior citizen. So in case if you want to validate that condition, you can see the person will be senior citizen. That means condition is getting matched here, right. So you can validate with the help of if loop if the condition is true here, right. But in the condition is not met or false, then are we able to handle this thing with the help of only if loop. Let's see. No, it will not be able to handle. Suppose if Kate, I want to give the age as 50. So definitely the condition is not getting matched here, right? So definitely it will not throw any output. It will be giving, because the else part is not, I did not mention anything. So it will be giving me the blank result. So that is the drawback of if statement. So interviewer sometimes asks why we did not use if statement only, why we use if else. So you can see that is the reason nothing is being displayed in the console, because I want to only validate the positive condition, not the negative one. So negative one, if I want to validate, I have to use a else statement here, right? Similar way, so that in case the if is not getting matched, so it will be going through the other part, else, if and else. Condition either is true or false. So here I will want to give person will be not senior citizen. Okay, so that's what I want to validate. Now if you want to change it, run it, so definitely it will go to the else later, right? You can see the person will not be senior citizen. So that is the concept of if and else statement, right? If only will validate. In case the condition is met, then it will be triggered. Otherwise, in case we want to validate both the condition positive and negative, then we need to use if and else statement, right? So an if statement can be followed by an optional else statement. Else statement used to specify a block of code to be executed if the condition is not met or false. So that's why you can use else statement. And within a if statement, I can also validate another if, right? So that will be nested if loop, right? So suppose say I'll be creating one line of code here. Okay, suppose say I am giving any age, I am giving the condition as if age greater than 80, right? So if you know, in case anyone in India age is greater than 80, the person can cast their vote, right? Okay, in case it is less than 18, so definitely the persons will not be allowed, right? Person cannot cast their vote until it is 18, so it is not adult, so definitely person cannot cast their vote. So let's try to run it and let's see whether the person can cast their vote or not. I have given the age as 50, right? The person can cast their vote. In case it is less than, it is suppose giving 10, so definitely it will go for the else part. Okay, so that is another syntax we can use. Okay, that's so you can validate. But say within that if condition, I want to give another one more condition, right? Okay, and I also want to check whether person can give cast their vote or not, as well as person can contest in the election. So you know 18 is the minimum criteria for casting their vote. But if they want to contest the election, it's a assembly election or Lok Sabha election, their minimum age should be 25 as per the government rule. So I want to validate whether they will be also allowed to, right, to be contest the election or not. So I'll be giving another condition here. I'll be using another if statement here, similar way. So I'll be using another if within a if, right? Here I'll be again changing age greater than 25 or not, right? So I'll be here giving another if condition. If it is greater than, fine. So I'll want to make the as that I want to check that the person can contest election as well. Okay, here also you can give else condition. In case that age is not greater than 25, though it is greater than 18, the person cannot contest election, but can cast their vote. So that's the thing I want to use, right? So there is no harm, right? First I will check the first if condition. If the condition is greater than, then it will go for the another loop. If the condition is not met, age is not greater than, so there is no point of going to the again another if loop. It will go simply to the else loop, right? And it will print you that person cannot cast their vote. Let's see, let's run now. So age is 10 here, so it will definitely give you result that person cannot cast their vote because age is not greater than 80. The first is not getting matched, so directly it is going to the else. But now say I want to give the age greater than 18, so again it will check the another two condition here, right? So let's give here age as 20 only. So in case it is 20, definitely that condition is matching, so either it will go for this or this. So here I have given age is greater than 25, right? So it is not getting matched, only 20 is greater than 80 but less than 25, so it will go for that part, right? Person cannot contest election but can cast their vote. Okay, so that's why if and right ladder nested if work, nested if else. So you can see here person cannot contest election but can cast their vote. But here if I give it 30, so definitely it is greater than 18 as well as greater than 25, so it will go that path, right? If path it will take. So if I run it here, so you can see here that it will be displayed the result, person can contest election as well. So that's why, right, if else and nested if else, it's like we can use it. Then I will show you what is if else if ladder in Java, right? Else if statement is used to specify new condition where first condition is not met. In case I want to check multiple condition, right? Then we will be using, instead of only if else, it will be using if else ladder, right? So that is called ladder, right? Either it will go for one or go for one or go for one, or in the last it will match. So if condition 1 is matching, so it will execute the condition, right? If it will go for condition 2, condition 3, condition 4, 5 like that, otherwise it will go for the different condition. So that is the concept of if else if ladder. Suppose let's comment out this code and suppose say I want to validate right whether the students, in case student used to get some percentage, right? So suppose say it's 70%, it's 90%, and based on the percentage, overall percentage, we used to give a kind of grade, right? Or maybe for a particular subject we used to give grade, right? So definitely, we can create a variable called a mark, definitely integer. So I will be creating a variable integer marks. I can give any value, suppose say I will be giving any value, and I want to check whether that value is, based on that value, what is the output, right? I can see whether the student is falling in which grade, right? So first I will be creating that, so a simple thing, if loop, right? So if I can on or else part I can go similar way, if else part I can here. So I will be giving that kind of marks. I can give, suppose in case marks greater than 80, right? So I can give here the output will be the student is average. Okay, so student is excellent, and he got grade suppose A. Okay, if the marks greater than 80, else I can say student maybe I can give all other condition also, right? So I will be giving another condition here. So if student mark is greater than 80, here you need to use else if, right? So that's why I can give multiple condition. If mark greater than 60, right, as well as marks less than 80. So I want to check whether it is falling from 60 to 80 range, means 61 to 79, not equal to 80. In case it is greater or equal to 80, right, so it will go for the excellent grade. If case student is good, like student is very good, because he is securing, and it will be can be grade B, right? Similar way I can use another if else if, right? Suppose say student is securing mark more than 45 to 60 range. So student is good, grade C I can give, and if pass mark is 30, so I can validate whether he is getting passed or not, right? 30 to 45 range, right? So student is average, okay, and grade is D. Otherwise, in case student is not securing even 30 marks as well, so I can say else student got failed. Failed the exam. And I can say any grade, right? Suppose grade fail, okay, or grade X. So that's why I can give multiple condition here, right, with the help of else if ladder. So definitely first I am declaring the variables with the data type and I am assigning some value. Then I will be checking different condition, right? And here we can give different condition at the same time in the if statement with the ampersand sign, right? So it will check definitely the marks is greater than 60 as well as is less than 60. So it will go for grade B. If the mark within the limit of 45 to 60, the grade C student is good, and if the mark is 30 to 45, student is average, but just somehow he passed grade D, else student is definitely got failed, right? So that is the default part. In case it is not matching anything, so it will go for the default part. Now let's see whether the marks is 60, okay, or say 61 marks. She got 61, okay. So let's, you can give some equal to 7 as well if you want to just check exactly with that part. So you can see it is going, his student is very good because that part is getting covered here, right? 61 is within 60 to 80 limit. If I give 81, okay, so it will be falling that one, first one, right? Greater than 80. Student is excellent. If I am giving as 31, so student will fall the fourth part, right? L pills means student will be having more than marks 31, 30 and below 45. So it will be giving you, right? Student is average grade D. Okay, student is average grade D. And in case I am giving any random number, like suppose say 21, so definitely student is not passed, right? He is not securing any of the grade. So by default he is going to the student failed the examination, grade is X, right? Who need to reappear for the exam again. Okay, so that's why I can use else if else if ladder. Okay. So that are the four different concept of conditional statement: if else if statement, or if else if ladder, and nested if. And the last one I will cover here, the switch statement, right? So switch statement allows a variable to be nested for equality against a list of value. Each value is called a case. So sometimes that is the reason it is called a switch case. And the variable being switched on is checked for each case. The switch statement works with characters, short, integer, long data type. So whatever data type will be declaring, we can declare everything, right? The case value must be unique. In case duplicate, it will throw some error. Each case statement can have a break statement which is optional. When control reaches to the break statement, it jumps the control after switch expression. It breaks statement is not found, it executes the next test. Because I will show you. So whenever we are talking about the two statement, right, break and continue, so those can be used in either the loop, for while, do while loop, or it can be switch statement also. Break can be used in switch statement. Right? That is the syntax for switch statement. We need to give switch, and there the expression, that means variable, case value, for each and every value there will be statement, right? And sometimes we can segregate with break, or even it is optional in nature. Okay. Yeah. So let's try to create a switch statement here. So what is the syntax? We can go for the syntax, right? So definitely we need to first declare a variable here. After that we need to use switch and then expression then case value, right? So suppose say I want to give a variable integer, okay, and suppose I want to check whether the student is falling under which class. I want to check student is already covered the primary education or not, 1 2 3 4, and student is just out of the primary education. So I will be creating a variable student class, right? So that is the variable. I am giving some value as 4, right? So that's why I can declare any variable, data type, variable name, and the value. Then I will be going for the switch statement. So first switch is WITCH, all are smaller part. Then here I will be giving the case, right? Here this is the part. So if you can go to the syntax, you can see switch and then expression, that means variable. Then we need to give bracket here. Then here we need to give case value and the statement, right? So suppose case value means that will be the value. So I can check for all the case, right? And it will be variables, sorry, it will be lowercase, and we need to here end with colon, semicolon, and here I can give the variable whatever I want to statement I need to give it. So here I want to check for if it is 1, class is 1, so student belong to primary standard 1, right? So student belong to primary class standard 1, right? So C is 2. After that I can use break. So because generally each and every switch statement should be ended with break semicolon. So that's why I can create multiple statement, sorry, multiple case statement, right? Okay, then case 2 I can check. So definitely it will be standard 2. In case it is matching with class, student class is matching with 2. In case it is matching with 3, it will be standard 3, right? In case it is matching with 4, so I want to validate only the primary class 1 to 4. After that he will be going to the high school, right, from the 5 onward. And in case it is not matching, so I can give here default, right, some default. So default there is no need to give any break statement because that will be the last part, because after that there is no nothing is there, so there is no is used to give any break. So 4 part, right, case 1, case 2, case 3 and case 4. After that, so if for every case I can give break. Okay, I will show you in case I did not give any break what will the impact. And default part, and default part I will be going that student does not belong to primary class standard, right? So student is either below primary standard or already out of the primary standard. So that's why I can use the switch statement, right? So let's try to run it and let's see. Now I have given the class as 4, so it will go for the case 4 here, right? This is the value of the, right, because it is integer I have given the data type, so it will be definitely value will be integer. So you can see here student belong to primary class 4, right? So it is matching with that my expectation, right? In case I am giving it to 1, so it is also matching with the case whatever I am giving, right? You can see. So it will be giving you the 1 value, right? In case if you want to check here 6, so definitely I have given the condition as 1 2 3 4, it is not matching, right? So it will be going for the default one. Okay, so default one, you can see here student does not belong to primary class standard. So it is Java is very case sensitive. So if you change case any one to small one, you can upper one, you can see error message is coming. Okay, so that's why you need to deal with that. Here we are defining, right, data type as integer, but in case you are giving any float or string, right, suppose I am giving any float value or double value, so you can see error message is there, right? And here in the case also, if you give any another value, right, so it will be also throwing some error, because whatever data type you are giving, so based on the data type you need to give the case condition or statement as well, right? So that are the different important thing you need to remember whenever you are dealing with switch case, right? So is the case must be unique. Suppose say here, right, 1 and 1 I can't give it duplicate time, so case should be unique. You can see some error message is there, right? If you go duplicate case, okay, so it should be unique in nature. So whatever point I write, the switch statement work with the character, short, int, long data type. So definitely you can also use character. This is the 4 data type. So integer I have used data type, right? In case nothing is getting matched, it will go for the default part, right? And break statement which will be used for as an optional part. Why we are using break? Suppose in case condition is matching, I don't want to iterate for the rest of the code, right? That is the reason I will be using any break. Otherwise what happen, it will not break the loop here. Suppose condition is getting matched for the first part, but I did not use break, so it will not consider, right? It will not continue, end here only, but it will go for the remaining one. So that is the problem of in case you are not using any break. So let's keep the break for 2 part, and third and fourth part just absoluting the break, right? So here no break is there. So what happened? In case that condition is getting matched, it will break. That condition is getting matched, it is getting break. But in case third condition is getting matched, so there is no break, right? There is no break. So third condition is matched, third, fourth, and default will be also printed. Okay. So now check with 1. So 1 here break is there, right? So definitely it will only print that part. Okay. Similarly for the second one, also there is a break statement is there. So it will only print that part, because after that it is getting break, loop is getting break, switch statement is getting breaked. But for the third part, I have commented all the breaks. So if you want to check for the third one, so definitely that part will be getting printed out. After that, it also that will be printed, and the default will be also printed, because there is no break, right? We are not breaking any loop. So once the condition is getting matched, also it will try to print you other condition, because we are not providing any break. That is the importance of break, means in case as and when condition is getting matched, there is no point of iterating for the next remaining lines of code, right? So that's why we need to use the break, and in case we are not using the break, it will iterate for the next line of code again, right? You can see here the condition is getting matched, but there is no break, so it will go for the next and next remaining until the break is there. Okay, so if third, fourth, and the default part. But here if I just want to use that break, so obviously that there is no break, so that part is getting code, and next will be code, but here there is a break, so default part will not be executed. So that's why we can use the break, which is optional in nature, but it is recommended to use the break for each and every switch case. Okay, you can see that is getting default, there is no break, that is also getting printed out, but here is a break, so it is getting break, that part is not getting executed. So that's why we can use any switch statement. Okay, so this is all about your conditional statement. Any questions? Or I will go for the next part. Here I have tried to give one more example, you can try it. Suppose I am using character data type, I am giving the grade is the variable, and switch grade, and then every case, right? And break. In case it is A, so it is excellent, or student secured more than 80% marks, right? B, very good, maybe student secured 60 to 80% mark. If it is C, good, student secured 45 to 60% mark. If it is D, student secured 30 to average, secured 30 to 45% mark. If it is not matching any of the case, so it is student is getting invalid grade, or student got failed. So that is the another statement of switch statement with the help of different data type, right? Character data type, because switch can be worked on character, short, integer, and long data type. So any questions? Is it fine, clear? Are everyone able to understand? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you. So I'll be going to the next part. What is method, right? So you whenever you'll be creating a framework, right, you should not hard code anything. Instead of that, you need to rely on the method. So I'm giving a simple example, right? Suppose let's say SYSO. You need to type say hello world here. Okay, so one time is fine, right? You can write directly hard coded something, but say you need to write 5 times, so you have to copy your code. So there is no harm even copying your code as well. But in case if you want to write it for 100 times, so it will be trouble for you, right? So you have written even 100 times also by copying it. But say I want to change hello world to hello world 1. So what you need to do? So for every line of code you have to write, modify your code. So here you can see here some probability of there, right? That you can do some mistake. So that is the basic problem, right? So if you run it, it will be changing it to hello world 1, right? So for all the lines of code, again if you change it to 2, sometime definitely today you want to work with hello world 1, tomorrow some requirement got changed, you need to deal with 2. So all the line of code you need to identify, right? And you need to update everywhere. So that is a very tough process, and there will be chances of mistake, right? Manual mistake. Okay. So to overcome this thing, there is a concept of method or usable component, right? We will be creating a method, and that method will be using multiple times. As and when required, we will be updating the method only instead of those line of code. Okay. So that is method. Right? A Java method is a set of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. Whenever user want to perform any operation multiple times, multiple iterative time, we can use method. The method are also known as function. Sometimes someone calls as function, sometimes method. There are two types of method available in Java. One is the built-in method. So you already seen in my last video, right? First Java session 3. You already seen there is a string method, right? If I want to compare the string dot compare to uppercase to lowercase, all the methods was there, right? So this is the inbuilt method because this is the methods available in Java, right? And there are another method, date and time method. So I will be showing it today. These are the important built-in method already available. And if I want to, sometime user can also create a method. So this will be user-defined method. So in the user-defined method, there will be two methods will be there. One is method with returning value, means that value will be returned something, and method without returning value. So return type will be void, right? So whenever I was telling the main function, right? Public static void main function. That is the function name main function. Void is the return type. Public is the access modifier, and static is the non-access modifier. So this is the return type. So that is the reason main method is nothing, returning nothing. Means there is no data type, it is getting returned, only whatever we want to console it is returning. Similar way, we can write a method which will not return anything, right? Return type will be null or void. So where we can write the method? In the class, right? This is the class we have created. So within the class we can write the method. Okay. So first I will be writing a method without a return type, right? So let's say public void hello world method, hello world method name I am giving. Okay. So that is the method name and that is the syntax for method, right? Data type, I mean access modifier, return type, and then so non-access modifier, there is no hard and fast rule you need to give it. You can give it or you cannot give it. In case you are not giving a static, it will be considered as non-static. Okay. So this is the default part you need to give, access modifier and return type and the name of the method. Here you can pass some argument. In case you are not passing, it will take the default value blank, and here you can give your statement. So this is the method I am writing hello world, and I want to print that part, hello world. Okay. Now say it is a non-static. Okay. Now say I want to use that method here. Here 5 times I need to use that method. So how can I use? So in the last session I already shown, in case it is not static, we need to create a object or instance, right? Suppose I will be creating object or instance, object equal to new. So that's why I can create a object or instance for the class. Okay. In the last session you can refer my video in case you did not join. So that is the class name, that is the object, and new, that is the class name. Once my object is created, I can access any non-static also, non-static variable, non-static method. So dot, if you press dot, you can find that method is getting come, hello world, which is in the session 4 class, and return type is void, right? That is the method name, that is return type, and from which class it is coming? It is coming from session 4. Okay. So that's why I can run it for multiple times. So I will be not hard coding anything. I want to run 5 times. So it will give me the result in 5 times. You can see here it is coming. Okay. But say now I want to update it to hello world 1. So here we need to every lines of code we are updating here hello world 1, 2 type like that. But here suppose say I want to update it hello world 3 with space. So I can give it space and I can give it type here hello world 3 in the only one place. Means that is the method. So it will be updating in all the places where we are calling the method. So that is the beauty of method or reusable component. You can see it got updated, right? Suppose now say I want to add some value here, kind of argument here. Okay. So instead of that numeric part, first part, I want to go for the changing part, right? So here I will be giving the hello world. I will be declaring another variable, right? Integer I, okay, and that part I will be concatenating it, right? That is the symbol of concatenating it, right? So here it will be added first one hello world 1, 2, 3, 4 like instead of hard coding, and here you need to pass, right? Because that is the way hello world, and here you need to pass the argument. So I will be passing it. Whatever argument I will be passing it, it will be showing me the result, right? So that is another thing. Instead of hard coding full component, I can also use some parameter, right, or argument. So it will be printed hello world plus that part concatenating I. And if you want to give some space as well, you can give some space with the help of concatenation sign, right? So I will be giving another space, and again I will be concatenating, right? So you can give some space. Let's run it. Let's see whether it's working or not. Hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like if you want to check it change, it will be even after 4 it will be 10 only. So that's why instead of hard coding something, I can rely on the right methods or functions. So which will be printed like that. We can customize it anything, right? So that is called method without any return type. That is return type is void. So there is no return type, right? So let's try to create another method here which will be having some return types. Okay. So how I will create, right? So public I can give so that it will be accessible anywhere. Then here I can create a method. Suppose say I will be creating a method for kind of anything, right? Division, right, or any multiplication. I want to multiply some variable, right? Multiplication, and here I can give some variable integer a, integer b, suppose integer c, and integer d. These are the 4 variable I want to perform operation as a multiplication. So here I am passing it, right? And then here I will be creating another variable, suppose integer j, right? Okay, where I will be multiplying everything, right? A star b star c star d, right? And then I want to return that variable, right? Integer. So I will be using return, because that will be returning something, right? J. Here you can see some error message, because here it is something returning. It is not like only printing out. So here also I need to return something, right? So it will be, I need to use return type, because it is return integer. So I will be using return type here, public integer instead of void. You can see error message gone. So that's why I can create a method where I will be returning something instead of void. So that is my return type is integer, because based on that. In case you are dealing with double, float, so definitely will be relevant return type will be there, right? Okay. Now if you want to access any of the multiplication operation, right? So you can already created an object, and with the help of the object you can go object dot multiplication, right? So here you need to provide 4 variable, right? Suppose 1, 2, and 3, and 4. In case if you need to use multiple time, so you can go with that way, right? 3 and 4, right? So I will be giving 4 variable. And now if you want to run it, so it will definitely not give any output here, because we need to store in and print them, right? So I need to, in case it is having return type, I need to use SOISO method, so that it can be printed out. It is just giving only the value, but it is not having printed out, right? So that's why I can print it out in the console as well to check the result is coming or not, right? So if you can see here, 1 to true, 2 to 3, 4, 6 and 6 star 4 equal to 25, 4 is coming, right? Similarly with the same method, right, in case you want to pass here, instead of 1 it's 5, right? So 5s are 2, 5 is 10, 10 into 12 equal to 120, so result will be 120 for the second one. So that's way you can create your method where you will be having some return type. You can see the output is coming. So instead of hard coding anything, right, you can create a method, and definitely as and when required you can pass the parameters and you can use them in the actual time. So that is the concept of, right, user defined method with return type and without return type. Okay, so that is the thing. So built-in method is string already covered, date and time function I will be covering today. Constructor, right? So you already see constructor, but maybe you are not familiar here. So as and when you are using creating object or instance for the class, right, with the help of new keyword, so that is called constructing. I am trying to realize something, right? That is called constructor. Immediately some memory allocation will be done as and when you are creating a class with the help of new keyword. But in case you are not doing anything, so definitely there will be nothing displayed, because we did not have any created any constructor. So default constructor will be the default value, right? So for the integer it will be 0, for string it will be null, like that. Okay, so here constructor, what is constructor? It is very important concept of Java, you need to remember really, because constructor will be even in the real time framework it will be used more. Okay, we will be using multiple times constructor instead of any method or function. So constructor is very similar to method, right? Whatever method we have written here, right? So this is method, right? But constructor will be same name as the class name, okay, without any return type. So that is the main concept of constructor. Same name as a class name and without a return type. Return type cannot be integer or other double like that. Okay. So constructor is a block of code similar to the method. It is called when an instance of the object is created and memory is allocated for the project. The purpose of constructor is to initialize the object of a class. So as and when creating an object, right, the objects need to be initialized. That is the reason concept of constructor is there. Okay. While the purpose of a method is to perform a task by executing Java code. In other words, constructor provide memory to an object. Without initializing object, we can't use its property. A constructor eliminates placing the default values. Okay, unless you are using any constructor, so you will not able to store them, right? You are not able to convert them as an object, and definitely it will not get the default. So every time an object is created by new keyword, at least one constructor is called. As and when you are creating new keyword, every time it will be one constructor will be called. It calls the default constructor. Constructor can be overloaded but cannot be overridden. So that concept I will be covering in the next session. What is the overloaded and what is the overridden? In overload is nothing. The same same methods or constructor can have multiple time we can use it with defining of data type, changing the data type or number of variables, right? So that's why. Constructor of a class must have the same name as the class name in which it resides. A constructor in Java cannot be abstract, final and static. A constructor must have no explicit return type. Java compiler distinguish between a method and constructor by its name only and return type. In Java, constructor has same name as that of the class name but does not return any value. Right? If a class does not have any constructor, Java compiler automatically create a default constructor during the runtime. The default constructor initializes instance variable with default value. Right? You know, right? Default value for the integer is 0, for double it is 0.0, for string it is null. So I will be creating a, here I have tried to give an example. Suppose this is the class test. So test is a constructor, you can see, without return type. Right? Here the class name is test and test1, but return type is there, void. So definitely it can be a method, not a constructor. Right? So first thing is the constructor will be same name. Constructor will not having any body. Sorry, not having any return type. So let's try to create a constructor here. Right? So definitely it will be same name, right? So I'll be creating a constructor here, first constructor. So definitely I'll be giving the access modifier only, no return type, and the name of the constructor should be same as the class name, right? And it will be similar to method, right? You can see here it is similar to method only, but no return type. In case you are giving return type, it cannot be a constructor, right? So session 4, I want to print something here. Say I want to print Java constructor. Okay, so that is constructor. Okay, now I just only added the constructor, right? And here, as and when I'll be using any new keyword and creating an object, immediately the constructor will be called, and immediately that will be getting printed out here. So that is the concept of constructor. So in case if you are running anything, you did not create any, right? You can see its constructor is getting printed. That is the beauty of constructor. As and when you are creating an object or instance, so whatever constructor is there, immediately memory allocation will be done, right? And so in case you are using multiple object with the help of new keyword, so multiple constructor will be created by default. Suppose I will be creating object 1, so that many constructor will be called that many times, right? So 3 times it will be called, so it will give you 3 Java constructor that value. You can see here Java constructor, Java constructor, Java constructor, right? Okay, so suppose say now here in the constructor I want to create another constructor with the same name. So constructor can be overloaded, means name can be same, but it should have different signatures. So here name is same, right? So here you need to here there is no argument we are passing, but here I want to pass some argument, right? Suppose I want to passing argument as integer I or integer k, okay? And so definitely here I need to provide it, right? Cover constructor I will be using concatenation sign, and I also separate with a space here, and again I am concatenating with that particular k value, okay? So now 2 constructor I have created, right? But here I am trying to create a object or instance, right, with those 1 constructor. So here how they will recognize, because here in the return, here in the bracket we did not given anything, so definitely it will go for that constructor only, right? So if you run it, so it will not consider the next constructor, it will go with that way. But here another constructor I am providing any variables, right, with integer a. So in case any of the constructor, if you can provide suppose 6, so that will consider that constructor, not that one. So that's why we can create constructor, we can overload multiple constructor, and as and when there is an object created with the help of new constructor, it will be using that. So with the help of new keyword, it will use the constructor whatever you have written for your class. You can see, so that is the difference between the constructor and method. Okay, so constructor have no return type. In case you are giving return type anything, right, suppose void I will be using, so it will not be considered as a constructor, right? You can see error message immediately came for those 2 parts, because for the 3rd one I did not mention a return type, for the 6th one, so immediately it will be displayed you the error. So it cannot have any return type constructor. You can see now error message is there, gone, right? Then the constructor cannot, if you change the name, right, session 44, so it will be not be constructor again, right? You can see it is not a constructor again, because constructor name should be same as the method name. Okay, constructor cannot have return type. Constructor cannot be abstract, final and static, right? So if you give it any static keyword here, public static, the access modifier and then non-access modifier, you cannot create a static. Okay, sorry, static, static. You can see error message is coming, right? So you can see if you click on the error message, remove invalid modifier, so that modifier cannot be there. Public, static or abstract or final. If you again type final, so it will also throw error, right? You need to remove that modifier, right? Invalid modifier. So that's why constructor works in Java, and which is a very important functionality. So I have tried to elaborate all the points here. Please go through and try to create a constructor. Name will be same without a return type. We can overload constructor, right? We can create same constructor with different signature, means with different data variables, data type, right? We can create another constructor here, same name, right? Here I can change the return type, right? Suppose I want to pass double here, right? So it will be only same way. So instead of k I can pass a variable L. So, and here I can create another more constructor for the double part, right? So double, you already know, it is not an integer. Suppose I can give some value here, okay? So that is called double, and I can need to give another name. It's called object3. So if you run it here now, you can see the output. So that is the name will be same, no return type, same name as the class name, and I can vary the signature, right? So that's why I can overload the constructor. So that's all about the constructor part. Then Java wrapper class. So the last session I think one asked you, like suppose say if I want to I already created a strings where I am already having only the numeric value, but still if I want to perform some operation, it will be considered as a string until you are converting to wrapper class, right? So, but in case you are converting with the wrapper with the help of wrapper class, definitely we can perform the operation with that particular stuff. Okay. So, what is wrapper class? So you already know in the data type Java, right? Two data type, primitive and non-primitive. In the primitive, like all the float, string, all the float, integer, double, character, everything will be coming here, right? Boolean, everything. Okay. So those are not object. Those primitive data type are not object. So we need to convert the object first. After that, we can perform the relevant operation. Because in the normal Java, object is not. We no need to convert them as object. But whenever we are dealing with the collection, so collection only deal with object. So unless we are converting them into object, there is a problem, right? So that is the reason wrapper class plays a pivotal role in Java. A wrapper class is a class whose object wraps or contains a primitive data type. Wrapper classes are used to convert any data type into an object. The primitive data type are not object, they do not belong to any class, they are defined in language itself. Sometimes it is required to convert data type into object in Java language. So wrapper class provides a mechanism to wrap primitive value in an object so that primitives can do activities reserved for the object, like being added in the collection framework. It can be array list, linked list, hash set, hash map kind of stuff. There are definitely 8 classes is available, right, in java.lang package are known as wrapper class. So for each and every primitive data type, there will be wrapper class. It is a character, it will be character wrapper class, byte, sort, integer, float, double, boolean. So that's why wrapper class is there. Suppose I am defining any variable, right, here as per my given example given. Suppose let's comment out this thing. Okay, so here normally if you perform any operations, so there will be no problem. Suppose I am defining integer a equal to say 5, right? So if I want to print them, so there is no problem, right? I can just print simply a, so it will be giving me the result, that's 5. But in case if I want to deal with the collection framework, then the problem will come, because collection framework does not able to read the primitive data type. They only only deal with the object, and primitive data type are not an object, they do not belong to any class. So fast, which is whenever I will be showing that collection framework, you can get to know the difference. Now I can convert them, right? So for the integer I will be using that integer wrapper class, right? So that's why I can convert a normal data type, primitive data type to a relevant object, right? So here I'll be for the integer it will be using integer wrapper class, and then suppose int object equal to new integer. So that's why we can create a object. You can see that is the object with the help of new keyword, right? You already can See here, right? And here I am passing that reference of variable or data type, right, which is the data type variable I am passing, so that it is converting to object. And now if I want to print it again, so it will be printed out with the help of wrapper class, where I am converting the normal data type, right, primitive data type to a relevant object. You can see the output will be same for 5 and 5. So definitely you can see that is the mark will be there definitely in Java, because you are definitely using the same thing. In case you are using collection memo, that will not be there, but if you are using it normal, that cross mark will be there. No need to worry about that. Okay. Similar way, suppose for double, right? So I will be creating a variable called double. So I am giving a variable d. Suppose here double, I will be using some value called that is the part. So if you want to print simply double d, there will be no problem. Here I will be creating a variable double object. Okay. And I can print that part. And definitely I need to use double here. And I need to pass the variable quality. So that's why also can convert a double data type to a wrapper class, relevant data type, relevant object. You can say output is still same. Similar way you can convert a float and other stuff, right? Now say whatever I was talking about, the important one, right? Suppose in case I am using a string, right? Suppose say I will be using a string which is numeric only. Suppose say string, that is the string str I am defining equal to, that is the string say 120, that is the string value, right, or 1200 say, okay, that is the string value. Now with that string, if I want to concatenate something, right, so I will be using SYSO, I will be using string variable, then I want to add 100 here, because you can see the value of the string is 1200, which is numeric part, and I want to add 100, so it should be 1300, right? But output should not be 1300, it will be 1200, and then 100 will be appended here, but it will not sum, because that is string, that is data type, sorry, that is the primitive data type. I did not convert it to a wrapper class, so that will concatenate the value instead of addition. So it will, you can get the result here only that, and it will be concatenated 100, so you can perform that operation, right? So that is the problem. So to avoid the problem, I can convert the string to the relevant part, right? In case it is a string, I can convert it to string, right? How can I convert it? So suppose if it is the integer part, I can convert it relevant integer. So integer, and I am creating a value, right? Suppose say that is the data type, so string to int, that is the variable I am creating, string to int, and here I can convert with the help of, right, integers wrapper class. So what is the wrapper class available here for integer? It is integer, so I will be using integer. Then if you press dot, you can see there will be a lot of methods will be coming here, right? So for converting integer to integer, you can see convert parseInt method, right? So it is a class will be integer only, so that class it is coming parseInt method. Here I can provide the variable as string, so it will be converting that particular string to integer with the help of that wrapper class. Okay, now if I want to perform the operation, right, with that particular variable, so you can see the difference here. So instead of str, I can use that variable, so it will be 1200 plus 100 equal to 1300, not it will be concatenating it. Okay, let's try to read and let's try to see here. Okay, you can see the difference. Now it is converting to 1300. That is the beauty of wrapper class. So in case anything is there, we can convert it. So now I will give another example here. Instead of let's string and here give some double value. That is the double value, right? And I want to add it here. So now it is a double. So I need to convert in relevant double, right? So to make a operation, so string to double, I can give the variable name here, and I can press the variable here. And if I want to change it to double, right? So I need to give the relevant variable here. Also, same way, I think it will be double, and here it will be parse double instead of parse int. So let's try to see what is the method available here. Parse double, right? So it will be converting it to double, right? Then you can need to end with semicolon, and then you can get it. So here it will be added, right? Dot 77 plus 100, and it will be 77. So that is the difference between the wrapper class and the normal data type. You can see the output is matching here, right? So that's why in case the particular string is containing some float part or double part only and or integer part, so I can't directly perform any operation. First I then to convert it to the relevant wrapper class, and then we can perform it. And for the normal data type, because those are the data type and those are the kind of language itself within Java, but they are not an object and they do not belong to any class. So first I need to create an object, right, so that that can belong to that particular class whatever we are dealing with. And once those are converted to object, then we can easily work with any of the collection framework. We can convert them, right, we can perform them any operation. So that's the beauty of wrapper class. So this is also inbuilt class available in Java, right? So then I will show you what is the date and calendar class functions, right? Those are the methods inbuilt, right? So I already mentioned here, this is the method, right? Date and time method and string method will be already available in Java. You are not writing anything, so everything will be, we are able to create it. Whereas user defined is nothing, we will be creating. Sometime we can be giving some return value, or sometime it will be without return value, or it will be void. Okay. So the class date represents a specific instant in time with millisecond precision. The date class of Java.util package implements serializable, clonables, and comparable interface. It provides constructor and methods to deal with date and time. So if you using create an object or instance for the calendar class, you can get lot of methods there. If you are creating an instance from the date class, you can get lot of methods available in the date class, and you can definitely use them, right? So Java calendar class is an abstract class that provides method for converting date between a specific instant at time and set of calendar field like month, year, hour, etc. Right? So let's try to see the implementation here for the calendar and the date class. Why I am trying to cover? Because those will be the you need to use in the real time in the framework, because date and wait function is really important. In case if you want to concatenate something with the screenshot, the current date and time, you can easily use them. So I will be using a first instance from the calendar class. So that is the class available, calendar class here in Java. So I will be creating an object for instance calendar. That is the class. I am creating an object for instance cal equal to new calendar. So here definitely you are getting some error message because you need to import that class from the Java package, right? Element packages. It is available in the Java.util package. And you need to use not new calendar, it will be calendar.instance .get instance. So that's why you can create an object for instance .get instance. Calendar dot no bracket dot get instance. Okay, you can see this is coming from the calendar class, and return type is calendar, right? So that is the return I am giving, return type is calendar. So once we are creating the object or instance, right, now if I want to get the time, of my system date, right? So I'll be using that variables here or object, and then dot get. What I want to get time, right? I can get, which will be date format coming from the calendar class. Let's try to run it and let's see what is the get it is giving. You can see this is the get coming. Saturday, June 90, right? 8:10:15 IST 2021. That is the date here. That is the month. That is the day, and this is the hour, minute, and second. Means 8:10:15 IST Indian Standard Time, and based on my setting in the my calendar, right? Whatever set I have set. Now, if you want to get only the year part or date part, right? So how can you get it? So you will be using calendar dot get instead of get time, right? Instead of get time, it will be get only, and then you need to use that calendar of class here, and here dot if you want to use anything, right? Month or week or year, you can give it anything, right? It will give you the return. That's why you can get all the important part. So instead of date of year, if I want to get other part, dot day of month, right? Similar way I can get hours, okay, only the hours part, right? Only the minutes part, okay. So you can get it. Let's try to run it. Let's see whether it's being displayed properly or not. Okay. So number of year, day of year. What is the day of year? Today is kind of June month, right? June 90. So it is 170 day from the starting. If you starting from January, so January, February, March, April, May. That is the 5 month is close to 155 day, 153 today, and is 19. So it is 117 days. And day of month is 19, right? And hour is definitely 8 and 11 minutes. So that's why you can get all the details. Now, if you want to set the date to calendar date, sometime you need to set the date, right, to some date. So definitely you can set a date. How can you set a date? So calendar dot set, right? Dot set. You need to use. Here you can use. Here you can see month, year, and date. You can set, right? So suppose first I'll be here. I'll be setting. Suppose say instead of 2021, I want to set 2019, right? Suppose month I want to set as say September, October. Date I want to set as suppose say 30 October, right? So that I can set, right? After that, if you want to print them again, right? Let's see how they are behaving now. Okay. So previously you can get the time details, right? Now I am setting it, right? So now previously it was my original system time. Now I set to 10th October 2019, right? Sorry, 30th October 2019. You can see, sorry, October, November, right? So it is coming as like that. Saturday, November 30, and the date, and this is the your month date, right? And this is your date. So definitely 10 will be your October, November. So that's why if you want to give it to 5 here, so let's see what is happening here. It will be June because it is starting from 0. 0 is the January, then 1 is the February, 2 is March, 3 is April, 4 is May, and 5 is June. And 2019 is your year, and 30 is the month date, right? So 30th June. And definitely I am not updating any of my remaining part, hour, minute, second. So you can see it is 30th June, so definitely 181 calendar day, right? Then month is 30, right? Hour is 8 and minute is 11, 14 now. What change? So that way I can set my calendar as well, right? Let's comment it out these lines of code here instead of setting. Now say instead of setting, I want to add some date to my calendar. It may be required, right? My calendar is not working, so I want to add some year or some hour or some minute or some second. How can I add it? So cal dot add. Okay, here you can see field name and the amount. So field name will be nothing. So calendar dot if you want to increase the month or date or like that, right? So you can increase it. So suppose say I want to increase the month only, right? So I'll be using that variable month. So I'll be increasing calendar dot month by 2 months, right? Similar way, I want to increase calendar dot first year, say by 1 year and month by 2 months. Okay, so what will happen? Your date will be 2022 and month will be instead of June, it will be August, right? So let's see. Okay, you can see the date year got changed to 2022 and month got changed to August, right? And that's why it is behaving way. So that's why different operation you can perform. You can set the calendar to a new date. You can add some calendar, right? In case if you want to decrease it, so it will be -1. If you want to decrease the month as well, it will be -2. Now let's run it. So it will be 2010 and month will be 2 months before that. It will be April instead of June, right? You can see 2020 and April month. So based on that date will be taken and I am not changing anything here. So day of the month will be still same 19 and the hour, minute, second, everything will be same. And based on that you can get the number of day of the year, day of the month, hour and minute. So that are the different operations we can perform with the help of calendar function. That is the reason calendar is a very important critical function methods class available in Java. In the next one, I'll be letting you know one is the date functions available in the Java. So how can you create a date? So date is a class available. So I'll be creating a variable dt equal to new date. Okay. So you can see some error message is there. You need to import the date class from the Java dot util package. Okay, not do not import anything from Java dot SQL package. You need to import from Java dot util package. Okay. Then if you want to print the dt, you can print it. Or sometimes you can convert it to string in case it is not giving a proper value. Okay, you can see it is gaping, but you can still convert it to string if it is required. Okay, sometimes you need to convert it to string, so it will give you more value. So it is giving the default part, right? Default way, right? Saturday, then June 19, and then last is like my year name. But still, I want to customize it, the format. In different format, I want to customize it, right? So I can format it also. So I'll be creating a string here for formatting. String in which format I want to do it. So date format. I'll be creating a variable here, and which format I want to check it. Suppose say I will want to check only get the format as suppose HH instead of that format, right? I want to check in the format SS hour, minute, second. Then I can give AM a that means, or for AM or PM I can get it, right? So that is the format I can give. Okay, here why the error? Okay, I can give A, and then here I can give I want to take the format as DD MM/YY. That part I want to only check here. So that is the format I want to print for the date. So you can change it anything, right? You can get the DD MM/YY part, you can remove the MM part. Only in case if you require only YY part, you can change it. So that is the custom format. Sometimes you need to change your date, right? Default date. So we are not changing the date, but you are changing the format to end the string format. So you have to create a use that class available here. Simple date format class. Simple SIMPLE date format. That is the class available in Java, right? So I'll be creating an object for instance SDF simple date format equal to new, and that is the class I'll be using. and which format I want to cover, you will be giving that string here. That format I want to convert it, right? You can see error message is there, so you need to convert the simple date format from the java.utility package. After that I can print it, right, the SDF part, right? Okay, so I will be using SYSO, the variable name, then also the format I want to format that date, right? That is the variable, but I need to format the date, so I will be SDF dot format, right, that date variable. Now here format and date variable, dt variable. So that's why I can convert it any date to any specific format. So that is a simple line of code, you need to remember it. Okay, you can see by default it is giving me, now it is giving me hour, minute, second, AM or PM, and this is my day, and this is my MM, this is my YY. Now if you want to change to suppose say YY, MM and DD. Okay, so you can also change it, right? So you can, if you run it now here, it will give you first YY, then MM and then DD. You can see it's YY, MM, DD, right? Now suppose if you do not want to give slash, if you want to give hyphen, right, you can change it. Okay, so whatever format is required based on your operation you want to perform, you can convert it, right? So that's why with the help of simple date class format, right, date format class, we can change it. So these are the three important classes you need to remember. One is the calendar class, one is the date class, and one is the simple date format class to perform the operation for the date or calendar. So that is the date and calendar function, important attribute, important methods available. Then the last topics from today is exceptions handling. What is exceptions? From the name itself you can see, right? Sometimes there can be exceptions. Exception is not an error, you need to remember. Error is different and exception is different. So exceptions or exceptional event is a problem that arises during the execution of a program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is disrupted and the program or application terminates abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore, the exceptions are to be handled. You know, suppose if you want to divide anything by 0, what will be your result? Because it will throw some arithmetic exception, because this is a problem. You can't do it. Everyone know this is an exception. So definitely you need to avoid it. So normally we know that this is the exception, so we will be not providing any this kind of operation. So we do not want to divide anything by 0. If you want to divide 0 anything calculated, so it will be throw some error, right, problem, because that is the known issue, that is called exception. So definitely sometime user can do, but in the automation scripting we need to handle the exception even if we know it. Otherwise the problem will be that in case any exception is there and in case we are not handling it, the remaining line of code will be not be executed. That is the problem. So that is the reason we need to handle the exception. An exception can occur for many different reasons. Following up the sum the reason I have tried to give: an user data entered invalid data, a file that need to be opened cannot be found, or sometime I want to perform an operation on a file, right? I want to change something, but file is already opened by someone. Is it allowed? No, it will not be allowed. And network connection has been lost in the middle of communication. Suppose I want to open the Facebook page or other page and I want to add something, right? In the some of the text field I want to click something, but I found that my network connection lost. So it will be throwing some exception. So that is different kind of problem. It can be exception. There are primarily three kind of exception one will be there. One is the checked, unchecked, and another was an error, right? Checked exception means if you know during the compile times, after writing your code, if you compile them, you can find the exception event. So that is called check exception. You can get to know easily. So the classes directly inherit throwable class except runtime exception and error are known as checked exception, right? Suppose say compile time you can get it, right? IO exception or SQL exception. Unchecked exception, this class inherit runtime only. If you run the program, you can only able to know those exceptions. Suppose if you want to divide something by 0, if you compile it, you will not giving anything because there is no syntax error at all. right? Only during the runtime it will throw the error. Array index out of exception, right? So you are giving the array size as 5, and if you want to load value as 6 component, so it will be giving some error, right? Suppose in case you give an array size as 5, and if you want to print the value of size number 8, so it will give you array out of bound during the runtime only. The unchecked exception are not checked at compile time, but they are the checked at the runtime. Error is irrecoverable, whereas exception you can handle and recover it, but error, in case of any error, it is not recoverable. Out of memory error, virtual machine error, assertion error, these are not recoverable, right? These are the 5 keyword available in Java to handle the exception: try, catch, finally, throws and throws. So now in this session I will try to cover only try and catch. In the upcoming session I will cover what are the different other keyword: finally, throw and throws. With the help of try and catch you can handle any kind of exception. In case it is a checked or unchecked exception only, but you can't handle error, because error is an error, right? So it will stop everything, it will halt all your execution. Okay, in case you want to update something and your memory does not have any, you are creating a file 5 MB, but your only free memory is 3 MB, so definitely it will be error, it will crash your memory. I mean, it can crash your system. So error cannot be handled, right? But exceptions can be handled in advance, so that your remaining line of code will not be problem. So try and catch. So try keyword is used to specify a block where you should place exception code. The try block must be followed by either catch or finally. It means we cannot use try block alone. In case we are using try block, you need to either surround with catch or finally. The catch block is used to handle the exception. It must proceed by a try block, which is means we cannot use catch block alone. It is followed by a finally block later, right? The finally block is used to execute important code of the program. It is executed whether exception handle or not. So in case try and catch block we are using, so definitely in case there is no exceptions, so definitely it will not give you anything. But if you are using finally block, so it will be executed at least one time whether exception is there or not. Okay, no need to worry, I will be covered later session. Throw keyword used to throw a new exception, whereas throws keyword is used to declare exception. It does not throw any exception. It specifies that there may be occurring exception, and that is the reason we need to use try catch block, so that we can handle those exceptions. So that are the different keyword will be associated for the different exception. So these are the different kind of exceptions primarily can occur in Java, right? So there are a lot of things there, but like these are the important type of exception I have tried to depicted here. So these are the built-in exceptions, are the exceptions which are available in Java library. These exceptions are suitable to explain certain error situation. Below is the list of exceptions Java. Arithmetic. In case if you want to do some irrelevant operation, arithmetic operations, so it will be thrown. Array index of bound exception. It is thrown to indicate that an array has been accessed by an illegal index. Right? Index is either negative or greater than or equal to the size of the array. Right? Suppose in case your array size is 5, you are accessing 6 position or negative or like that, so that will be throwing the array index of bound. Class not found. The exception will be raised when we try to access a class whose definition is not found, right? We did not define the class. In case we define the class as protected or private, and if we are trying to access it public way, so definitely it will be displayed the error class not found. File not found, right? In case the file is does not open properly, or it is opened by someone other person, so it will be throwing. IO exception, in case an input output operation fail or interactive, it will be thrown. Interactive exception, it will be thrown when suppose I want to use a thread. Right, thread is for parallel testing. I will cover that part, no need to worry. But in case the thread is already sleeping status or waiting status, so I want to access the thread, so it will be giving the interactive exception. No such field exception. It will be thrown when a class does not contain the field specified. No such method. Similarly, in case that method is not available or method is private protected, I want to access it, so it will be throwing that no such method. No null pointer exception. In case a object is null, but still I want to validate the size of the object, so obviously it will be showing the null pointer exception. Number format exception. If I want to convert anything to numeric format and the method is not proper, it will be giving number format exception. Runtime exception. This represents any exceptions which occurs during runtime. String index out of bound exception. It is thrown by a string class method to indicate that an index is either negative than the size of the string. So that is a different kind of exception can be thrown. And primarily we can handle the exception with the help of try catch block and finally block. So okay, so generally I will cover only try catch block today. So how can you handle the exception with the help of try catch block? So try catch block contains a set of statement like where an exception can occur. A try block is always followed by a catch block, which handles the exception that occurs in associated try block. Right? Try block either should be closed with catch block or finally block or both. A single try block can have number of catch block. In case no exception occur, right, in the try block, then the catch blocks are completely ignored, right? So that is the syntax: try, then statement, then catch, exceptions name, and exception handling code, right? We will be using that way, right? Let's try to give the real-time example of the exception and the problem. Suppose say I want to perform any operation, right? Suppose I will be giving anything integer. Suppose say I am storing any variable integer a, I want to store. Suppose say is 34 divided by 0. That is the operation I want to perform. So here is no logical error, right? There is no syntax error, because that can be done. That is a value, that is a value, and integer. Yeah, I want to store the difference. After that, I want to print something, right? Suppose say I want to print above code should throw arithmetic exception. And before the line of code, I also want to validate, print something, right? Below line of code, below code should throw exception. Okay, so this is the first line. Definitely it will be run because we did not given anything. After that, I want to perform an operation where it will throw some exception, and the next line of code I also want to execute. Here there is nothing is there. Okay, only just I want to perform operation. I will not even print anything. Let's see what is happening here. You can see the first line of code executed, right? This is executed successfully. After that, the problem came, exceptions came. So it is giving you the error, right? You can see the exception in thread main java.lang arithmetic exception by 0 and training that class. What is the line number? You can get it, 35 line number, right? And this is the exception, right? And as the exception happened, the next line of code did not execute here, right? That is the error message did not come. So how can we handle the exception? Right, that exception has been triggered here, and because of the exception, there is no point of exception. Exception can be triggered. By our objective is to handle the exception so that it will not interrupt the remaining next line of code. Right? Suppose say I want to run multiple lines of code, right, like that, but it is not getting executed. But before the line of code exception triggered, all the line of code is getting executed. That is the problem. I want to execute the remaining line of code as well. So I need to handle the exception. I know that some exception will be coming, but I need to handle the exception. How can I handle the exception? With the help of try catch block. So if you do not know, just select the line of code and you can get it here. Surrounds with and try catch block. Or either you can manually write it here, right? Try catch block. You can see it's surrounded with try catch block. Exception E, right? e.span.stack. You can remove that part. Okay. So it will print you the exception, and the remaining line of code will be executed with the help of try catch block. You can see the remaining line of code is getting executed and it is printing you the exception. What is the exception is coming. Another way, you can also print out, right? This is the way. This way, so give that exception name E. Okay. So it will still print you the value. So that is the try and catch, right? You can see that is the only the exception part is coming. Right, and you can get the previous code and the next line of code. So you handle the exception. These are the different approach you can handle it. Now I was talking about that in case we are using a try catch block and there is no exception there, right? So definitely try catch block will be completely ignored, right? Suppose now I want to divide 34 by 1. So what will happen? Though I have handled the exceptions, but it will not be, because there is no exception at all, right? So it will not print anything. So catch block will be ignored completely, but definitely my remaining line of code will be executed. Okay, you can see. So that's why with the help of try catch block I can handle the exception. I am trying to give you more examples so that you can get to know what is the exception all about and how can handle the exception. This is the simple example I am given, right? Now say I am giving another example. Say I am want to get declare a string which is null. String str1 equal to null. That there is no size, right? Now I want to print the size of the string. So what will be thrown? Dot size dot length. After that I want to print the next line of code, right? Similar way. So okay, let's see. You can see. Okay. Okay, I should not give in bracket. Sorry, that is the reason it is coming, right? Because in case it is given, so it is considered null as in word. So I need to give without double quote. So that is means it is considering null only. Otherwise, it is considering any ULL. So size is giving sport. So you can see some error messages there. Exception in thread mail, and that is the Java null pointer exception. What is the line? Session 4 is the class and 36 is the line number, and the next line of code is not getting executed. So I need to handle those exceptions with the help of try catch block. So I will be manually writing it now. So try, and I will be giving the bracket, right? And here I will be writing the code here, right, under the try, and then I will be enclosing with catch. See a bracket I will be giving. Sorry. Catch, and here I am giving it the exceptions, right? What exceptions? I can give that relevant exception, null pointer exception, right? So I can take the name here, and you can give any variable name here. Okay, so that is done, and then if you want to print it, that line of code, you need to again give it second bracket, and you need to enclose with the second bracket. I think that is the line of code you need to write. Let's try to run the code and let's see. Okay, so exception has been handled, right? I do not want to print the exception. If you want to print it, you need to SYSO print, right? Similar way. So exception has been handled. I don't want to print the exception, but I am just want to go to the next line of code. So that's why it's handled. Suppose if that is the error message, I know that is the error is coming, right? But in case you do not know the exception, you can give it general exception. That is the another part. You can give it. You do not know the exact error, but either you need to give the exact error or you need to give an exception, right? Suppose in case if I give it arithmetic exception, so it will be thrown, because you want to handle that either generic way or the exact exceptions name way. So that are the different approach you need to follow. Okay. So I will be giving another example here. Same. Suppose I am defining an integer for the string, for array. Suppose integer a and equal to, right, and I am defining the size of the array is new integer, suppose say 5 or 6. So 0 to 5, right? That will be the value will be there. Then I want to assign some value, right? Suppose say a 5, sorry, a 3 equal to 30. Definitely it will be not be throwing any error, right? Because size of the array is 6, so 0, a0, a1, a2, a3, a4, a5, that is the 6 element. So a3 is perfectly fine, but I want to store something which is 8, sorry, suppose say 8th, right? So it will be throwing some error. Suppose I want to give 60, so it will be throwing some error because that is not there, size is not, I mean that index out of bound. You can see here the error messages will be thrown, right? Exception will be thrown. Okay. Because the exception name is array index out of bound exception. So either you have to handle with that exception or generic exception. So I will be here throwing with, sorry, here I want to also lines of code, right? I want to print lines of code here, but definitely that will be not printed because of the exceptions, right? Now I want to handle the exceptions. So how can I handle it? Let's select the line of code, right click here, surrounds with try catch block. Okay, so you can remove it, and by default you can go it, otherwise you can write your own try catch block. Here you can give the exceptions, right? Or you can give the exact name of the exception as well. You can copy print here, copy paste here. So that is the different way. You can change it also like that. Still it will be handled because exception is the generic one. Any exception will be handled, or you can give the exception. You can see next line of code is getting executed. So that are the different way, different thing where exception can come, and you can handle the exception with the help of, right, try catch block. Okay, so that is the, I think, different thing I have tried to cover today. If statement, if else, switch statement, method, constructor, wrapper class, date and calendar, and exception with the help of try catch. So there are 5 different conditional statement available in Java: if statement, if else statement, else if or if else if ladder, nested if else, and switch. I have covered. What is Java method? I have told, right? We can use the built-in method like string, date, date time method, right? Calendar function method, and we can create our user-defined method where one will be method with a returning value or with returning value. Constructor in Java, right? What is wrapper class? We, because like whatever primitive data type we are using, that are not an object and they do not belong to any class. So in case if you want to do perform operation with the different collection framework, it will be trouble. So that is the reason better to convert them to the relevant wrapper class with the help of those wrapper class, right? And what is the date and calendar functions? How we can use the calendar class, date class, simple date format class, how you can convert that date in specified format. What is the exceptions? What is error? What is checked unchecked exception? How you can handle the exception with the help of try catch block, right? So that are the different things covered from today's session. So we'll meet tomorrow for the session 5. Thank you.